We have seen some major meltdowns over the EA acquisition, and I personally think that it's hilarious that so many people in the industry think everything is going to fall apart because of this purchase. But now we're hearing the video game union workers are publicly opposing the EA sale as more employees are saying this is an absolutely disgusting move on their part. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, with a deal this big, there are going to be plenty of people who oppose it and don't like it, but we know a lot of the activists in the industry are very angry at it because they are afraid that the gay is going to go away. I can't believe that I have to sit here and say that, but we know that they had said, oh, it's going to be sports and action games are in and the gay stuff is out, which a lot of people said, that doesn't sound too bad, but we know that former Dragon Age directors are saying it's hard to imagine BioWare pivoting from very progressive messaging to having the reverse, and the public perception will be apocalyptically bad if that ends up happening. They are mad that they are going to potentially be out of jobs if the new EA, will call them, decides to not just hire people based on a checklist and DEI initiatives, and they actually hire people based on their talents, which is what the industry should have been doing this whole entire time. But now they're coming out and publicly opposing this, trying their best to fight against it. So a union representing video game workers across the United States has released a statement on behalf of employees at EA regarding the pending acquisition and privatization of the company. We know a lot of these people are very mad because not only are the Saudis in on this deal and Silver Lake is, but Jared Kushner's company is, and they feel that it is completely unfair that Jared Kushner and the Saudis are working together on this deal, but the PIF, the Saudi firm, has been buying up a lot, and they've been investing in a lot, especially in entertainment, so this isn't really that shocking. Now, do I think that this is a good deal for gamers? I'm not necessarily sure. Maybe they will do away with all the gay stuff and the DEI initiatives, and they'll just hire people based on merits, and games will go back to being amazing, but at the same time, we could see them over-monetizing and predatorily monetizing games, pumping out tons of products and going in the quantity over quality direction. Either way, though, EA has been a pretty bad company for a long time, and they can't get much worse. It's not like they started off as being this like amazing pillar in the industry and everybody loves them, and now we're all worried that they're going to go under now. They've been bad for a long time. The group says this $55 billion deal will further concentrate power and wealth into the hands of a few gatekeepers while doing nothing to address the concerns of players and workers. EA is not a struggling company. With annual revenues reaching $7.5 billion and $1 billion in profit each year, EA is one of the largest video game developers and publishers in the world. EA's success has been entirely driven by tens of thousands of EA workers whose creativity, skill, and innovation made EA worth buying in the first place. Yet we, the very people who will be jeopardized as a result of this deal, were not represented at all when the buyout was negotiated or discussed. I genuinely don't know what they wanted. Did they truly want the three entities that are going to be buying EA to sit down with each of the tens of thousands of workers and hear all of their criticisms and critique of the company? Like, genuinely, I don't know what they could have wanted here that they were not represented. Did they all want a hefty payout? Did they want a piece of the pie? Like, their argument here doesn't make sense at all whatsoever. And they're saying, oh my gosh, EA makes all this money. Yeah, and they still had $20 billion worth of debt. They are still a company that takes risks and doesn't just profit every single year. And I get it, right? You can be upset about this deal all you want, but my problem with unions like this is that they never have clear outlines. They'll say, oh, we want to be represented. We want to be listened to. How did you expect that to happen, you need to give like clear and concise guidelines. Are you saying, oh, we deserve $5 more an hour? We deserve to have a say in the franchise. Like, what is it you genuinely are asking for? And they also say that it's their skill and creativity and innovation that made EA worth buying in the first place, but that's not the case. EA was purchased because of the franchises and series they have. Like, let's go back to, they worked on something like Baldur's Gate, Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age, Mass Effect. Yes, there is a lot there, but you did not make those games that were successful, like Dragon Age the Veilguard, for example. That's not Dragon Age. That's not what made Dragon Age popular and made Dragon Age billions of dollars in the past. So it wasn't you who actually made EA worth buying in the first place. It was the developers who were fired or left that you are filling the roles of. So, yeah, you sound pretty ridiculous. And in addition to the statement, the union has launched a petition for the U.S. Federal Trade Commission to look more into this deal. They are calling on regulators and elected officials to scrutinize this deal and ensure that any path forward protects jobs and preserves creative freedom. I think that this all stems from worries about AI replacing them, and that is definitely a worry. I've always said AI is an okay tool when used in moderation, but it should not replace human beings. But at the same time, these are people who are making extremely controversial pieces of content. They are not making games for the sake of escapism and entertainment. They are using games as a vessel for propaganda, which is why I'm not going to shed a tear for these individuals. It also says every time private equity or billionaire investors take a studio, private workers lose visibility, transparency, and power. Decisions that shape our jobs, our art, and our futures are made behind closed doors by executives who have never written a line of code, built words, or supported live services. But this is the case with every single company, and I have to say this all the time on repeat. It is perfectly fine if you do not want to support certain companies and decisions, but if you are basically a human being, you're going to be supporting people you don't like. Every time you go to Walmart or Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or Costco, you're supporting rich executives and people that you might not agree with. So unless you're only buying from mom and pop stores and you're basically in an Amish community where you're not getting a lot from the outside world, you're supporting people you tend to not like. And again, I completely understand that they are worried that their jobs are at stake, but at the same time, I can't really sit here and say that I'm going to be so sad for these individuals who have ultimately hurt this industry. Now, like I had mentioned before, we've heard people come out and say that this is a terrible move and they're going to face apocalyptically bad backlash if they pivot away from very progressive messaging. Clearly, pushing progressive messaging hasn't worked. It hasn't sold millions upon millions upon millions of copies of games. So I don't know why you still want them to go down that path. And I'm not sitting here saying that they should force all diversity out of games. One of my favorite titles ever is Knights of the Old Republic. You have a black man, you have a droid, you have the different alien races like a Twi'lek, you have Juhani, who is a Cathar, but also a lesbian. You can play as a man or a woman if you want. Like, it has a lot of diversity, and it is a phenomenal title. I'm not saying that, oh my gosh, if you get rid of all of these themes, it's going to make $1 billion. And I'm not saying that all of the diversity should be removed, but I think that it needs to be scaled back in a way that normal people will accept it. But when you start adding things like top surgery, scar toggles, and you add modern day terminology like transgender and non-binary, and characters are basically walking billboards for certain sexualities, yeah, that's not going to jive with people. That's not going to make people connect to your character or want to go out of their way to purchase it. Things need to be subtle and well written in order to get a point across to people. And we definitely know that the writers in the industry right now are so untalented that that's not happening. But they even went forward with saying Andrew Wilson basically said F you to all women and LGBTQ employees at EA with this deal, not actually saying what that truly means or how that's the case. I think it just boils down to, if the activists are fired, they're bigots, they're racists, they're sexists, they're toxic, which is an insane take to have. So we've seen quite a few meltdowns from people at these studios. Now it looks like they are coming out and releasing these statements, and a union representing these employees have come out and demanded that the FTC look into this, that EA start listening to their employees more, even though they don't clarify how EA is supposed to do that, and really just trashing this acquisition. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.